Once the councils have given us these tenants, they know that they're going to be looked after, and they know that they're in a quality accommodation that's furnished. The maintenance is done for them. They've got somebody on the phone. We've got a 24/7 phone line, 365 days a year, so they can always get hold of us.
Someone to go to at all times.
All times, yeah.
We care about them and their journey and moving them on. It's not a money-making exercise for us at all.
From what we see and what we get, it's only going to increase. And like I said before, we're doing everything we can to try and help local authorities and help home these tenants. But
Hi, I'm Tom Cooper, sales manager here at Knight Knox, and I'm joined with Chris, CEO, and Bobbie, COO of the Housing Association. They've gladly joined us here today to give you more information, more insight into buying a supported housing property and all that comes with it. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
thanks for having us.
I think importantly then, we should start from the very beginning. Tell us what you do.
So we've got a housing association based in Oldham. We provide properties all over the UK for tenants that need it the most, vulnerable tenants that are referred to us by local authorities, and we provide them with quality, affordable homes.
Very good summary. So, obviously, as a housing association, your tenants cover a variety of different areas. They have a variety of different support needs. Could you give us a bit of an overview about the kind of tenants that you deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah, like you say, there's a wide range of tenants that we provide homes for, and some can need a lot more support than others. It depends on the referral. So each local authority will give us a referral, and that comes in a referral form. Our team will then go through that referral. They'll make their assessments and recommendations, and then we'll put the package of support that tenant needs. Some might need 2 hours a week, some might need 2 hours a day, some might need a visit a month.
Right.
And there's a wide range of reasons for that, down to mental health, with the background where they've come from. They could have been orphaned, they could have had, domestic abuse. There's a wide spectrum that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
So the key factor that links them all together is that they need support. It's not just housing that you provide, it's support. Support.
Obviously, the biggest one that they do need is the housing, because at the moment they'll be in temporary accommodation or some temporary hostel that the local authority is providing. So we're taking that need away from the local authority and providing the housing and the ongoing support that they require.
So how many properties do you have under management at the moment?
Just over 1,800, Bobs.
Probably nearly 2,000 now, maybe
Really?
more than
Wow.
that, yeah.
And then the reality of it is that the demand for this kind of accommodation across the country is reportedly closer to 400,000. So across the entire country, obviously this is a small demographic in relation, so it really is a drop in the ocean, really, isn't it?
We could treble, quadruple. In fact, we could 10 times what we've got, and we won't be making a dent in the need, in demand. That's what's needed. But what we feel with what we're doing, we are ticking boxes and we're helping where we can. But in terms of the wider spectrum with the demand, it is a drop in the ocean, if you will. But we do the best we can with the team we've got and the properties we've got.
And what would you say that the kind of core strengths of the business are?
For me, it's that we care. It's like Chris said, we could get 500,000 houses and fill them all, but it's not about that. It's about that support for that person. It's about making sure they're okay. That one of the great things is that we might take somebody, say for example that they've been in care all their life. So at 18, they then have to leave care and they're suddenly on their own. So we can take that person, help them get their own, get into a property, and help them manage that. And eventually, in time, they may be able to get their own place and live independently. And it's caring about that person. Every single tenant that we have, we care about them and their journey and moving them on. It's not a money-making exercise for us at all.
No. Well, obviously, you guys are very much on the housing side. Our investors that buy these properties are very much will look at the the numbers, the investment, that's generally what they're
Yeah.
but this is really good for them to understand a bit more of the social impact and what they're actually doing, what they're helping.
Yeah, 100%. Well, without your investors, these properties wouldn't be able to be bought, and we wouldn't have the properties for the tenants. So it goes hand in hand. You know, what you guys do here, finding the investors to buy the properties, helps us to fill the properties.
Yeah.
And you were asking about core strengths, and our team, we've built up a great team. Everybody, like Bobbie says, cares about what they do. So we've got very specific roles within the company and we hone in on areas as well. So we won't have different people going to different tenants. The one person will look after so many units, so they get familiar with that person. So, and they build up that rapport.
So the relationships are really important between the tenant and
exactly,
the support.
And that helps bring a lot of tenants out of the shell.
So how do you find the specific properties in the areas? Is it based on, say, the number of referrals that you'll get, and you'll get a list of people for certain areas, and you think, okay, that's where we need to focus on?
Obviously that. So some areas have a higher demand than others. So we do focus on those areas. But to be honest with you, if the developer brings me a property and I'll go and look at it, if we're not already in that local authority, it'll be a quick phone call to explain what we've got, where it is, size of it, and if it's great, we need it, we'll go for it.
I think where it's all been streamlined here so far is that it's one developer, one housing association. So therefore, you've got a direct contact with who you're getting your properties from. They've got a direct contact of where these tenants are coming from. So it's going to be the same or similar areas based on referrals. But does that make it easier?
A lot easier, because we work closely with the developer, and the developer now know exactly the product we need. So it isn't a case of they know when they found what we want. So rather than going through a 4 to 6 week process of approving it, that can be. It's a case of getting somebody, myself usually, go out, visit it, make sure it's in the right area, make sure it ticks all the boxes, and the developer usually supplies us with properties that tick the boxes. You know, parking, communal gardens, etc.
So that was going to be one of the next questions then. So how do you assess the property? So you go out yourself?
Yeah, it'll be myself or one of the estate managers will go out and have a look at it. 9 out of 10 times it's me. I'll let Bobbie know that I'm going out to view a new block. Only went to one the beginning of the week, lovely block in Keighley. I'll have a look, make sure it does what it says on the tin. The rooms are big enough, the kitchens are, and they are.
Because they've looked specifically.
They know, the developer knows exactly what we need, and a lot of them are brand new. So it's more of me getting a feel so I can let the team know what we've got and when it's coming. And then as soon as we've got it, they're queuing up to fill it before we complete.
So how do you see the demand evolving over the next, say, 5 or 10 years? Do you think the need for this supported housing is going to continue to skyrocket as it seems to have in the last couple of years?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, as a nation, it's not good to say, but unfortunately with the way it's going, because I know the government are pledging to build a lot more, but because the demands are around 1.3, 1.4 million, I think they've pledged to build 900,000. There's still 400,000 hole to fill, and then that'll roll into the year after. So the demand, from what we see and what we get, it's only going to increase. And like I said before, we're doing everything we can to try and help local authorities and help home these tenants, but we can only do what we can do.
I think as well with the private rental market, it's who can afford who can afford a house to buy.
Purchase, yeah.
And then looking down the rental route, it's, what can you get for £100,000 a month? So social housing will always be needed.
Yeah,
always.
Definitely. Well, we've seen, so this is one of the questions we get quite a lot from the investors. So usually the exempt rents, which is obviously what these are, you may be able to explain a bit more to the investors what that is generally a bit higher than the local average, but obviously that does involve some of the support as well. What are the other alternatives for a council if they didn't have this accommodation that you were providing? What other alternatives would they have? Like, how much does, say, emergency?
Not much. They don't have much option because they're already filling their quota of what they can provide themselves. they've only got so many units that they can fill themselves, and then so some of them are in hotels or temporary accommodation.
And how much would that
And
cost the council?
Exactly,
Yeah,
it's very, very expensive
it
way
can be up
to
to hundreds of pounds a day.
yeah.
Really. So
Yeah,
to compare them directly, save a couple of £100 a day over a week, £1,400 a week for emergency accommodation, whereas what's the average for an assisted for supported housing?
anywhere from 270 to 450 a week.
So it's
Depending
it seems
on
high, but it's not.
It's not in the grand scheme of things, no. And then the council, once the councils have given us these tenants, they know that they're going to be looked after, and they know that they're in a quality accommodation that's furnished. The maintenance is done for them.
Yeah.
They've got somebody on the phone. We've got a 24/7 phone line, 365 days a year, so they can always get hold of
someone
us.
to go to at all times.
All times, yeah.
And that's why the councils work with us, because if they have to keep these families and these tenants in emergency accommodation, they're going round in circles. It's costing them a fortune, whereas we can offer them a cheaper alternative, but to give that person a home so they're out of the system. They no longer have to really worry about them. And the idea is that we look after them in such a way that they stay with us until we can manage them,
And we encourage that, when they move in, it's not, because a lot of them think, where am I going next? Because that's been their life cycle. We encourage them, this is your home now. So the last questions are, can I put a picture up? Can I paint a wall? It's yours. And we provide furniture, and we've done a video recently, you'll probably see it come through, with one of our tenants in Portsmouth Mill, and he sourced all his own furniture, and it was all from a charity shop.
Really?
Or clear outs. He didn't even, but it wasn't the stuff it's modern, it's sturdy, probably a little, some tenants say uncomfortable. He wanted his old, and it looks lovely, doesn't
it's
it?
great.
And he's done it all his own decor. So, but that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want to go in, and you want it to be their home.
You must have quite a lot of success stories where you can see and you've helped a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of what, the reason we do it. Like Bobbie said, we're a not-for-profit organisation, so we're not, we're not going on lavish holidays and spending it on yachts like other housing associations that are for-profit can do. With the money we make, we pump back into the tenants and into the community. So we want our tenants to live in a higher quality accommodation.
Perfect. So the next set of questions are really towards the rent. Maybe this is probably more from the investor side. So how is the rent determined?
Through the referral system. So when the referrals come through from the local authority, we'll have a look at all the needs. It would be mental health, or whether it be if they're fleeing, say, domestic abuse, and that sort of tenant, they don't want to go outside. They're going to need a lot of reassurance. Becky had one last week. They wouldn't open a letter. They had a mental block on opening letters because every time they open a letter, it's bad news. So they had to be encouraged to start doing that, and looking after
tasks.
Everyday tasks, exactly. So when we get that referral form through, we'll determine a rent calculation, and that'll include all the service charges that we put on top, for staffing, admin, cleaning, maintenance, and that'll be sent off. We'll go and move the tenant in. The rent calc will be put into the Universal Credit Journal. That'll then go through to our DWP portal, which we've got access to. Not every housing association has that. We've got our own login to the DWP portal, which means when the housing officer goes out, puts the rent calc and the tenant's details into the Universal Credit Journal, which is on their phone, it'll show up on our portal, and we just click accept, and we're in payment within hours. So you could be moving a tenant in to an apartment over there, drop an email to the office, all moved in, it'll be on the DWP portal straight away.
Wow, that is quick, isn't it? So is that because you're a CBS Community Benefit Society that you've got that privilege?
And we're established, and it took a long while to sort of go through the red tape to get on there. But once you're on there, it makes the whole system a lot more streamlined. The referral, the rent calc doesn't have to then go back to the local authority to be approved, and it's just a lot more streamlined. So it's better for your investors. It's better for us because we're in payment straight away.
Well, I mean, our investors are always happy. They get paid on the first working day of every month, seamless, and they're happy. They don't have any real other contact with the property apart from obviously getting
It's
paid,
easier for us as well to manage because the portal can only be accessed by a certain amount of members of staff. So we have certain members of staff, and they'll just go on and they'll liaise with each other. Me and Bobbie are always copied in. So and so moved in this date, and it has to be approved. So we have to go on, and if it's left, it's just sat there waiting for approval. So our team click accept that is our tenant. They have moved in, and we're off. So it makes it seamless for our side as well.
We're just linking to you mentioned the portal. So we get a lot of questions about in terms of the contract. Our investors will get a 25-year management contract for you to manage the properties. Some questions that they will say, where's the contract between them directly and the DWP for the rentals, or yourselves and the DWP? Obviously, there isn't a contract because it's a form of benefits, but obviously you have access to the portal. Could you explain a bit more about? Yeah,
in terms of contracts with the DWP, there isn't. They don't exist. I don't think any housing association will have an actual physical contract with a DWP. The fact that we're on that portal is them saying, there's your contract. Yeah. And as long as there's the demand, and as long as we can keep putting these tenants in, the payments will keep coming through. So referring back to the 25-year, the demand, I can't see the demand going away in 25 years, 35, maybe 45 years. It'd take a big change from a government to say, right, we're stopping this system, because if they did, we'd have a lot of homeless people, because these tenants can't afford to sustain their own homes, can't pay for their own accommodation, and crime rates would go through the roof, because the only way they'd be able to fund their accommodation or their money is
this is the most affordable option for councils. There's alternatives, but they're more expensive, so that's not going to help.
No, exactly. So but reverting back to the contract, there isn't a contract as such. The fact that we're on the portal is a contract in itself. It's all online.
So you've got a portal. You get a code to invoice. Is that how it works? You get a code to invoice the DWP for the rental?
No, it's even simpler than that. We move the tenant in, we put all the tenant details in through their journal, click accept, that goes onto our portal, DWP portal. Somebody in the team will check the tenant details, check whether that's a move-in of ours, click accept, and we're in payment.
And then that's it. It comes to rolling monthly.
Yeah, every month.
And then obviously, Bobbie, you deal with a lot of the investors directly on the financial side.
Yeah.
So process is just as simple. The payments just go out on the first of every month. Or
No.
first working day.
No.
It was as simple as that.
Yeah, I do wish it was as simple as that. No, we're very, very switched on with the investors. It's crucial that we get that bit right. We work closely with the agent, like with yourselves. We have a great relationship with yourselves, and we deal direct with them. You basically hand the investor over to us. I've got a great relationship with many of the investors, because obviously I've been doing it over a couple of years now. We do the payments every month. It's a massive task. There's a lot of international investors, so that's not an easy payment to do.
The bank never help.
No, I can imagine.
No, we have issues there, but it's that my number one priority. I'm more on the investor side than the tenant side. But my number one priority is making sure the rents are paid. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that,
course,
but that's my number one priority, is to make sure that they all get the money on the first business day of the month.
So part of the agreement that the investors will get will be the fully repaired and insured management agreement, which everyone's interested in. People from a more commercial background might be more familiar with it. How does it actually work on a day-to-day level in terms of like the management of the properties?
So we've got a 24/7 phone line. So that's our first protocol, because that organises it for us. So it'll come through as a maintenance query, finance query, or they'll report it to the housing officer on a visit saying, I've got this wrong. As soon as a job, let's say a maintenance job comes through, it'll be logged on our CRM, Alto. That'll then automatically go to the contractor as a job number 11102 or whatever.
Yeah.
It'll go, or it'll be red until it's picked up on, it's a traffic light system. Once the maintenance guy's picked it up, it'll be amber, which means it's ongoing, and then they'll report back when it's done and it'll go green.
Wow,
and then the invoice will be sent out. So yeah, we report to all maintenance within 24 hours. If it's an emergency, a leak, electric, within 2 hours. So from the investor side, they've got peace of mind that any maintenance issues are dealt with straight away. Obviously for the investor side, they need to know that anyway, but it's more for us. We've got a tenant.
Well, it's completely hands off. It doesn't get any more passive.
Yeah, completely hands off. They'll never get a phone call from a tenant or anybody else saying me tap's leaking or anything like that. That all comes through to us, and we've got tenants to sort of look after. So again, with the amount of units we've got, it's got to be seamless. So it's a process that it's reported, it's logged, it's automatically sent out to the contractor in that area, which are on our system. The job comes back, they click a button saying, right, we're done within 48 hours. And when it's done, pictures are sent out and invoices raised.
So quite a common question we get. So obviously in the very unlikely scenario, but the housing association has grown exponentially in the last few years, fantastic reputation, fantastic accounts. But if, say, something were to happen to you as a company, a housing association, what would happen to the tenants?
It's very difficult for something to happen, especially financially. But let's say, for instance, I don't know, worst case scenario, our office got blew up and everybody was in it.
Yeah.
There's a management company called Myshon,
right,
which specialise in housing associations, managing housing associations' portfolios. It'd be all passed over to them. John, who heads up there, I speak to him quite often. He'd come in, make sure the tenants are in situ, because that's the number one priority. Yeah. That's the number one reason we're here. He'd manage the tenancies, he'd manage the landlords, he'd keep the payments in, and then he'd look to sourcing another housing association or multiple
to take on
and break it up and to take it over, because it's not like a normal private rental portfolio where the tenants can be given notice and banks would come in and repossess it. Our tenants are social housing tenants, so they need to be kept in situ because they haven't.
So it's as seamless as it could possibly be, where obviously the tenants are going to remain in the properties, someone would step in and effectively manage that tenancy and continue to pay the
until
landlords
the housing association could come in and pick up where we left off. Yeah,
I mean, you can't really ask for any more than that, can you?
No.
I said it, obviously it's the unlikely scenario, but it is a common question that we get, so it'll be interesting to obviously hear it from yourselves directly. So what's your plan then going forward for the next 5 years? World domination?
Try and make a massive dent in that huge demand. No, just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Our team's growing massively. We're just taking another 3-4 staff on this month.
Brilliant. We met with some of the staff earlier as well, and so passionate about the care that they're providing.
Yeah, exactly. And they all are. That's throughout the whole team. So just carry on what we're doing. Grow. Not too quick, manageable. And keep providing the quality, affordable accommodation that we're doing in the areas that we're hitting.
So could you tell us a bit more about the care, the support that you provide to the tenants? So obviously our investors probably don't know too much about exactly what you do, but in terms of the actual support on a daily basis, how do you support the tenants?
Again, it goes back to what we were saying before. It depends on the type of tenant. Like I was touching on the person who wouldn't open the mail. Yeah. And it could be something as talking for them over the phone. A lot of the time, a lot of the support staff, they book in visits. So they'll obviously make sure the diary is well organised. They'll visit a block and they'll say, right, Tom will come and see you at 10, Bobbie will come and see you at 11, and they'll sit with them. It might be a half an hour chat, or it might be 5 minutes. Everything's fine. I'm good. Yeah. I'm done this, this and this.
So it's
Some
very
might need
individual on what
very-
that person needs at that time.
exactly, yeah. And some might not want it. You know, we insist on it, but some might not want to see you that day.
Yeah.
And all that's logged. So every time the staff go out on a visit, what's been said, what's done, how long they were there for, is all typed up and added on the CRM. So notes are made, and you know, we've got evidence of what we do and how we support them. But in terms of, I've had questions in the past of they think we go further than we actually do. Like they think we're at a CQC level and we provide
like constant care.
Yeah, like we cook meals for them, we make the beds. We don't do that. We're not there for that. We have service providers that we work with that can do that. We're not CQC registered, so we're not qualified to provide that sort of level of care. But if we have a block that suits that, we'll put in a service provider
That can do that.
that can do that. They'll get the extra rent for providing all that,
Right.
and we'll just get the core rent that goes to your investors.
So it really does come down to the individual tenant, what they need on a daily basis. If they need that extra help,
100%,
you can
yeah.
go to
And,
that.
and a lot don't want, you know, it might be the odd phone call that they ring in for a bit of help. It's not that they need constant support or... so we're led by the tenant and what they need, but obviously the offer of help is there for them all. But we're led by them really and what their needs are.
Perfect. So how is the actual rent determined for the tenant living in the property?
Through the rent, so we do a rent calculation. There's a formula basically, so you'll get the referral, and into that, from the referral, there's various elements.
Right.
So how often we're going to have to visit them, what sort of facilities they might need in the property, and then also determining the tenant, so that's the tenant side, and then there's the block side.
Right.
So if the block gives them more facility, so if they've got an external garden, some don't, some do, you'll know that from what you've sold.
Definitely.
If they've got a car park, so all these added extras go onto the rental calculation. So again, it goes back, each tenant is determined, they'll have their own sort of ballpark rental figure, but each block will also, but if there's more facilities in a block that we have to provide for, they have to be paid for.
Okay, fair enough. So ultimately, that's not in your control, is it? It goes into a formula. They will determine what that calculated rent is, and then we work that back and say this.
Most
is
of
the
them,
property
there's
rent
like
will be.
there's boxes you tick, you know. So where have they come from? How many hours are we gonna have to put in? What sort of staff? You know, admin, CCTV, car parks, cleaning, maintenance, all that goes into the formula, and then we'll get the rent calculation.
So the last section really is just on the kind of the tenant allocation and the process involved. So could you walk us through the process of how the tenants are selected, and then ultimately how they're selected for certain properties?
Yeah, so in terms, it goes back, rather than us selecting them, which we do. We'll get a referral from the local authority. So, for instance, when I say referral, we get a referral. We don't have to
Take that, but
but we're sort of edged towards taking them. But if we've got, like, for instance, we had one the other week. I think it was in Oldham or Rochdale, a serial arsonist.
Right.
Now, you can imagine the rental calculation for that guy.
And the insurance.
They were offering stupid money a week, but do we want him in a block where even if he's turned a corner, what's to say he's not going to turn back? And I don't know how an arsonist's mind works, but they've got an obsession with just messing about with fire. So we'd say no.
Operationally, it's a risk, yeah.
And like you say, insurance and just managing the tenant and the fear of, getting that phone call that the block's on fire, everybody's been evacuated. So we get the referral, and then we'll look at it. Obviously, the referral will come through from that local authority.
Yeah.
Usually it's because we've said we've got a block on Acacia Avenue. They'll say, right, we'll get the referrals through. Jordan and the team will look through it. On the referral, it'll say whether they need ground floor. So it'll all be based off the
the
referral
and the property that you've got.
And to be honest, unless there's a stipulation of they need a certain type of property in a certain type of area, we'll say, right, we've got this block, and the council have already given it a thumbs up, and the tenant's over the moon, regardless.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Because they're in a brand new home, fully furnished, you know, washing machine, fridge, freezer, table, chairs, beds. So that's how it works. It works on the basis that the developer will give us the block, I'll go and see it, I'll tell Jordan this is where the property is, you know, Harworth House, Doncaster, get on to stamp at the council, he'll come and have a look, thumbs up, great, the referrals will start coming through.
It starts, and it's that quick, and that's
and we just have to slow it down because, you know, if there's 90 units in a block, they'll give us 90 referrals. We can't move 90 tenants, so we'll do it, try and do 10 a week, you know, to make it manageable, or 20 a week, and that's how it'll work. So that sort of deals with how the tenants are allocated and how the blocks are chosen.
And the demand, obviously we touched on the demand initially. You never have void periods, do you?
No, I mean we work on depending on if a tenant does move for whatever reason or relocates. Sometimes they come out of area, you see. They might be on Doncaster's referral list, but they might be from Manchester. But they'll accept a property in Doncaster, but they want to be back in Manchester. But on the rare occasion we do get a void, it's a 1 to 2 week turnaround. And that includes redecorating the property, cleaning it, tenant moving in.
Perfect.
So there's very little in terms of voids or turnaround.
Such a huge number of referrals that
because through. Exactly. If we get a void, that we've got a stream of them coming through.
I suppose the last section then really is on the kind of the social impact that this has. A lot of people will think of it from the investment side, the purchase side, probably not so much on how much of a social impact it has. How much impact does what you do have on the local economies?
Well, it's huge, isn't it? Because it's not only taking these people out of temporary accommodation, but it's also the look on their face. So you're changing somebody who could be down in the dumps, walking around, you know, unhappy. Yeah. So we've had people crying because there was a family recently that guy Pete moved in at Christmas.
Yeah.
They were in a temporary accommodation with his wife, his daughter, and they were in a hostel. His daughter was 15, and they were in a hostel with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, like middle-aged men, younger men, and they didn't go to sleep at night. And we provided them with this two bed apartment just before Christmas, put a Christmas tree up for it, and they were crying their eyes out. Changed their lives. So it's not only a social impact on the economy, but also in the community as well.
Well, that is the impact, really, isn't it? I know the investors will see it from a financial side, but it's good to see what the properties that they're buying are doing to help people.
Absolutely.
And from you guys, I'm sure, obviously, it gives you a lot of fulfilment, the help that you're giving people.
Of course it does,
yeah, and I think it's important to do a lot in the community. We work with local charities, we work with local hubs to provide financial support. We even sponsored a football team. Whatever the community needs, then obviously if we can support them and provide funding, then we will make a difference that way, don't we?
Yeah, we work with a charity in Burnley, Casual Minds, and we help them, and in return they help us. So through that, the block we've got in Burnley, if there's any maintenance issues, they've got a maintenance team. Brilliant. And they're across the road from the block. They said, well, we can help you with the maintenance, you're helping us. So they've got like tradesmen, and they know the block inside out, and because they're local, they know the tenants, they're built at rapport, so it all goes hand in hand.
Helps the local communities.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So thank you very much, Bobbie and Chris, for coming in today. It's been a massive help. For those who are more interested in further information, we've done another video with the team, the management of the Specially Supported Housing Association. Click on the link below and you'll find out more.